All right. Welcome to Sunday Stretch and Flow. So we're going to start in seated today. So if you wanted to bring a towel or a blanket and have it folded, or even a bolster, sometimes those are a lot more comfortable, and you can sit on the edge of that if that feels okay to you, having one foot in front of the other. And if this is pretty intense on the hip flexors, feel free to bring some blocks, placing them underneath your upper thighs. And as always, just kind of letting the body get started, finding this position. So maybe a little rock from side to side, bones root down. Let the crown of the head drift upward, and whatever feels best with your hands on top of your knees, maybe having fingertips to earth, kind of sensing in that grounding. And if it feels okay to do so in the space you're in, go ahead and let your eyes close, or just take your gaze softly in front of you and just notice your breath. Notice the inhale, maybe paying attention to the chest rising and falling, or if it's filling up your belly. And then taking that awareness and bringing it to that space just below your navel, kind of in between tailbone and navel, a couple inches below navel. And if you were to imagine that almost like a flame or a light, and if you were to inhale down to that light and expand it broad on all sides, and let that inhale travel all the way. So you're kind of loosening the pelvic floor, loosening the side, your waist, your low back. And as you exhale, think of drawing upwards. So if you were to exhale, pulling up from the pelvic floor, but not creating a lot of tension so that you're flexing hamstrings or glutes. And that exhale presses out. Once again, inhale, find that release, that opening of the low belly. Let it travel all the way to the crown of the head as you exhale, drawing upwards. And maybe even notice the crown of your head lifts as you kind of are pulling upwards. And just breathing here, this wave of breath, connecting breath. Let that belly soften, pelvic floor softens on the inhale, and as you exhale, we're pulling upwards all the way to the crown of the head, and let breath cleanse. So today we're kind of focusing on this wave, this spinal wave to create space. And this is a little bit opposite. A lot of times we'll inhale that wave upward, but just working first here with connecting breath and clearing space. So each exhale, notice a washing away. And we often use this drawing up of the pelvic floor when we need that lift, when we get airborne, say in crow pose or things like that. We won't be doing that today, but so a couple more, and just think of this breath like the wave of the ocean. If you like, if it feels good to you, you can do that ujjayi breath where you kind of are like fogging up glass. I don't often cue this because I think sometimes it can cause tension in the throat. But if it is something that feels good to you, go ahead. Sometimes creating that little bit of that holding in that breath, that ujjayi, can be cleansing to some people, and to others it feels tight. So just go with what feels good for you today. We'll do a couple more of these, really releasing into the low belly. and then drawing up from the pelvic floor. If you have already an intention or a mantra, feel free here to kind of focus on that, as well as a bit of letting go, carrying it into your practice, but not clenching onto that. And then the next time that you inhale and expand the low belly, if your hands aren't already on knees, go ahead and bring them to knees. And we're going to wave that spine forward. So kind of bringing that torso forward, letting the chin lift. Still inhale into that low belly. And as you exhale and draw up, let those hands kind of act as holding, and then stay here. So that low back has not too much of a curve, but enough. And then the mid back, just a couple breaths here. And this time as you inhale, think of a wave coming up, and your inhale and that crown of the head lifts upward. And then as you exhale, shoulder blades glide down your back. So that inhale kind of lengthens the spine upward. The exhale softens all around the spine. And then once again, inhale, deep into the low belly, wave that spine forward. As you exhale, use the hands kind of as a fulcrum, and then expand the space behind the shoulder blades. Spend a little time here. And then on an inhale, almost as if you could inhale up from the pelvic floor, and it draws that spine upward. And that's more of the spinal wave that we'll be doing. And then as you exhale, there's a softening down. One more of those. Big inhale, sweep that chest forward. Exhale, pulling up from the pelvic floor. Navel draws in. Find that rounding. Chin can tuck if it feels okay. This inhale, feel the inhale drawing upwards from the pelvic floor as the spine has some length, crown of the head reaches up, and shoulder blades drift down your back. And then just soften here, relax the breath, relax any effort. If it feels okay to close your eyes, and just maybe noticing what a little bit of spinal movement has already done. Maybe there's a little sense of clearing, of softening. And whenever you're ready, we're going to inhale, reach those arms up overhead. As you exhale, let the left hand drift down, keeping both sits bones on the ground, and that right hand reaches over, keeping the chest and shoulders open. Even here, if you inhale and kind of lift upwards through the crown of the head, and as you exhale, maybe you'll notice a little bit more space. So finding that inhale up from the pelvic floor, lengthening through the spine. And that's what we're going to be focusing on a lot of today, is that wave of the spine to create space for deeper movements. Inhale, come back to center. Allow your shoulder blades to glide down your back. As you exhale, the right hand comes down, left hand reaches over, left sits bone stays towards the ground, keeping the shoulders open. And again, you can inhale, let that breath travel upwards, and then maybe there's a little bit more space there, and maybe there isn't. That's okay. Inhale, back up through center. This time as you exhale, cactus those arms, draw shoulder blades back, elbows back, and then just find a little release. Maybe roll the shoulders a couple of times, releasing some tension between shoulder blades. And then let's switch out just to even ourselves out. Whichever leg that you had in front, place the other leg in front. Again, blocks can be really handy if you're feeling a lot of tension in the hip crease. And then we'll take the left hand, taking the index finger and thumb to the top of your collarbones, just kind of gently. And that right hand comes on top. And there's not a ton of pressure, just kind of the weight of your hands down on your collarbone. And then take the left ear towards the left shoulder. As you exhale, feel the tops of the shoulders softening down. Feel that nice stretch on the side neck. And then gently draw the back of your head backwards to whatever is behind you. And if you would like that stretch to come more in the front, near the throat, you can release your jaw, open your mouth. Still breathing and exhaling. Everything softens down. Coming back up towards center. Taking another little shoulder roll, release the hands. It's being researched more, but they're come to find that the more movement in the spine kind of creates more healing. Opposite side, so right hand, index finger and thumb to the top of the collarbone. Place that left hand on top and just that gentle pressure, just the weight of the hands, letting gravity just kind of do some work here, pulling the collarbones down very gently. And then let that right ear drift down towards the right. Release any tension between your shoulders and then draw your head slightly towards whatever is behind you. So just as if the back of your head was releasing towards the back wall. And then if you'd like that stretch to come more towards the throat, go ahead and release the jaw, opening the mouth. And just allow that breath still deep and full. And then coming really gently back towards center. Inhale, bring those shoulders up. Draw the shoulder blades down your back, soften them back down. So taking that inhale, waving the spine long here, bring the left hand behind you, right hand to the top of the knee. So we often keep this spinal wave and then a twist on the exhale. And then once you've kind of twisted as far as you can through that exhale, inhale up again, up from the pelvic floor through the crown of the head. And then exhale, find a little bit more of a twist if it's there. That inhale, lengthening to create space, but to also move through spinal movement to create change. And as you exhale, come back slowly, leaving that right hand on the top of left knee. Then the left hand comes over top as you gently kind of try and separate here. Take an inhale to wave that spine long. And then as you were almost trying to pull your arms apart from each other and then wave here from side to side. Oh, feeling that stretch all along, maybe low back or each side of your spine, sometimes even up into the upper back. Often, even when they kind of have worked on people's spine, they'll have them move their spine to start healing. But it's all connected, and all of our wiring goes through the spine. So then we'll come up. Let's bring arms up, cactus once again. Bring that right hand behind you, left hand to the top of the right knee. Inhale, draw upwards, feel that wave, crown of the head reaches up. And then as you exhale, the twist from the belly over to that right shoulder. Each inhale, create that wave, that lift of the spine. Each exhale, a little bit more of a twist. And on your next exhale, leaving that left hand there, bring the right hand across to the other side. A little energetic kind of pull as if you're trying to arms apart and knees are letting you. And then inhale, wave the spine long, and then just kind of drift from side to side, letting each shoulder melt down. And maybe even noticing, paying attention to how your spine feels, how the muscles surrounding the spine are feeling without any judgment right now. Of course, backing off if something doesn't feel good, but not being critical of that here in this space. And then let's unwind again. Bring those arms up. You can circle out the wrists as you kind of cactus or draw the arms back, getting into the wrists here. Bringing those legs up. Let's go ahead and windshield wiper just so we can start to get into the hips a little bit. Leaning back, using that breath again. We'll start to get a little bit more into the hips right now, but just to kind of soften first. And then let's come into table. So if you'd like, you can bring a blanket or a towel underneath your knees. So knees are going to be directly underneath hips. If you have some healing or would just like to create a little bit more space in the wrist, so maybe not as much pinching in the wrist, go ahead and bring a block. I did something to my wrist, so I'm definitely using blocks today. Knees are going to be directly underneath hips. And take an inhale here. Find that wave up from the pelvic floor. Wave that crown of the head forward. And then we're going to get into some cat-cow. So really allowing that spine to move. So as you inhale, the hips drift upward. Low belly sinks down. Heart shines through. Chin comes up. As you exhale, maybe even soften to the ground first. So bend into the elbows. And then tuck that tailbone under as you press the mat away. Chin tucks. A little bit more softening here. Bend into the elbows before you find that little cow pose, opening of the belly. And exhale. Just try that out. See if that softening feels good to you. Part of this waving of the spine is softening first. And it kind of helps as we soften and then use that ground reaction force to press into the ground to create some movement. We're kind of releasing some rigidity. When we soften, it helps us be clearer. It helps movement. So a couple more of these cat-cows. And then maybe you notice your spine or your neck kind of wanting to move in different ways. So moving the ribs to the side and just kind of let that happen. Hips can go to one side, or if circling of the hips feels better, feel free, but just kind of free flow it out like water here. So almost really connecting to that wave, that water element today, which is also our sacral chakra, or what we represent sacral chakra, Svadhisthana, with the water element. And it's sacral chakra is our emotions, our creativity, our sense of self, creation. Let that exhale clear something away as you move the spine. You're kind of stirring up. And then eventually come back to a little bit more of a neutral position. So maybe once again, wave the spine long as you kind of draw up from the pelvic floor. Inhale, crown of the head reaches forward. And then we'll extend that left leg down the length of the mat. Keep all that length. So keep that spinal wave, crown of the head forward. And then we'll draw that left leg over towards the right. Right shoulder is drawn towards right hip. And notice that spaciousness in the left side body, even a nice good compression in the right. And if it feels okay to you, you can rock back and forth on the ball of the left foot. Opening up the bottom of the feet. And then find that softening, lifting that left leg, crown of the head reaches forward. As you exhale, draw that left leg over to the left. And then we're gonna just kind of make some wavy spine. So as you inhale, wave that spine forward, crown of the head reaches forward. As you exhale, let the hips draw back. And we'll just flow with this. So almost like drawing up from the pelvic floor, let the crown of the head go, and then let those hips gently kind of drag you back, starting to stretch into inner thigh, getting into hip socket. Let that exhale wash and clear. Inhale up forward. Shoulder blades drift down your back. Take one more wave of the spine forward. And then exhale. And just kind of soften here. You can even inhale, wave that spine long once you reach towards the back, and then maybe reach those hands forward. Maybe the chest melts a little bit deeper. Allowing ourselves to be a little bit more fluid. Releasing some stagnation or letting whatever we've been holding on find some movement. Then we'll come back. Nice and slowly bring that left leg back. And if it feels good, once again, to kind of move those hips, move the spine, circle the hips, whatever feels good here. I think I'm going to have to turn. I think I've got the wall in the way. So finding a neutral spine, take an inhale, wave the spine forward, crown the head nice and long. Shoulder blades glide down the back. And your next inhale, reach that right leg. So there's a nice long line from crown of the head to the right toes. As you exhale, let them drift over towards the left. Draw that left shoulder towards left hip. And if it feels good to rock, opening up the bottom of your feet. Again, let that breath move through those spaces, clearing. And then on your next inhale, again, wave that spine long, create that length, lifting up that leg. So waving the spine also helps connect to core. Exhale, bring that right leg out. Take a nice inhale. Wave that spine long. As you exhale, let the hips gently pull you back, nice and gently. Inhale, drawing up from that core. So the core pulls in and then expands out, but it stays kind of drawing in as you exhale, hips draw back. And you'll notice as we move through today, the spinal wave kind of helps create space in the low back. It helps us transition from one pose to another, keeping that core engaged to keep everything safe. This time as you exhale, maybe just allow a bit of holding here. You can even, once you get back, inhale, create some length. Maybe exhale, walk the hands forward and the chest lowers. You could even have a block under your forehead if you wanted to lower your forehead down, or the mat. Maybe your head goes to your mat. As you're ready, inhale, coming back to that table nice and gently, finding a little bit more fluid movements. You can let those hips release from side to side, let the torso move. They've also found that different segments of our spine, when moved, kind of affect different areas of emotions, different areas of healing. You know, if you go to a chiropractor, they often discuss that. So when we get a chance to move all parts of our spine, kind of help clearing all facets of our being. Then bringing those knees directly underneath. You can walk those hands a little bit more forward if you'd like. Once again, find an inhale, wave of the spine long. Tuck the toes, and as you exhale, coming into our first downward dog. So bringing those shoulders more to a neutral position, making sure they're not pressing so far down your back that ribs are flaring, but we're also not drawing shoulders way up by the ears. And then you can straighten into your legs, heels soften towards the mat. Maybe a little bend from side to side. Let that exhale release your jaw. Find a cleansing, find a clearing away. Then coming to more of a hold here in this downward facing dog. We're going to work on some big wavy spinal movement. So inhale, come up high on those toes, tuck the tailbone under, and notice the whole spine articulate as you move through into plank, crown of the head reaching forward, the low belly is gently drawing in and up. As you exhale, bend into those knees, and you can let the hips lift and kind of gently draw you back towards your downward facing dog. Inhale high on those toes. Let that spine really feel like a wave, rolling in towards the beach. Shoulder blades glide down your back. Exhale, bend those knees with the hips. Gently draw you back. We'll go one more. Notice that core kind of almost creating a little heat here. Exhale. And then if you can, just kind of notice here, making some mini ones. So on an inhale, kind of feel those hips and then the crown of the head go forward like a little mini spinal wave. Also creates a little bit of length in the spine. And then let's move back to one more big one, high on those toes, tuck the tailbone under, exhale. This time, lowering the knees down to the earth, shoulder blades draw down your back. We're gonna come all the way down and work on some spinal waves here. So these are also kind of nice if you bring your fingertips a little bit more forward. So a little bit more towards your temple. I wouldn't say too far forward beyond your head, just maybe in line with, say, your eyes and away apart from your mats. Bringing those elbows upward toward the ceiling. Press all 10 toenails into the mat. Feel your kneecaps light up. Press the tailbone in. And as you inhale, feel that spine wave forward. As you little lift up, as you exhale, draw shoulder blades down your back. Let that heart shine through and melt back down. Keeping all that strength in the legs, elbows up. So it's almost like you're kind of like a little spider. And inhale, wave that spine. So tailbone softens, pubic bone presses down. Inhale it up. Exhale, shoulder blades glide down your back and we'll soften down. One more lift. Inhale, elbows come up. Inhale, wave that spine, crown of the head reaches up, shoulder blades glide down. Exhale, this time just soften. You can stack your hands, let your forehead rest. If you wanted to bend into the knees, windshield wiper legs from side to side. Let that exhale really soften down, clear away. And then once you're ready, bringing those hands a little back more by the chest. You can have them on blocks if you'd like. Tuck the toes under, firm up that core. Inhale, wave the spine long once again. As you exhale, draw up from the core. Press the mat away. We're going to come all the way back into downward facing dog. Once you reach that downward facing dog, it might feel good, just a couple of those tiny mini waves. And you can soften before each wave. That kind of helps find that length. Then as you're ready, on your next inhale, we're gonna lift up that right leg. As you exhale, bend the elbows back, bend that knee, draw that right knee in, place right foot just behind the right hand. As you exhale, lower left knee down, and take a moment here to find that spinal wave. Inhale, wave the spine long. You can stay down here on blocks. You can bring forearms up to the top of your thigh or come all the way up into low lunge, creating that softness, pubic bone to belly button, and then maybe there's a release, hips down and forward. Shoulder blades are still gliding down your back. As you're ready and you exhale, bring those hands on either side. Find another little wave of the spine, creating some length. As you exhale, let those hips drop back. Front knee can stay bent, a little half pyramid here. And once you find that space where you feel that good stretch, take another little wave. Inhale out from the pelvic floor. Shoulder blades draw down your back. Then maybe that heart finds a little melting. And you can even keep waving here if that feels good to you. And I think that's the thing. Some days this wave of the spine feels really good, like you're clearing and moving. And some days it feels better just to hold. Just knowing that you have that listening, that somatic intelligence here that can tell you, yes, let's move that spine. Let's just soften here. As you're ready, inhale, come back forward, place the hands on either side, untuck the back leg, send it back to downward facing dog. Take an inhale, come up high on those toes, wave that spine forward. As you exhale, gently lower the knees, lower the hips. As you inhale, wave the spine up, little baby cobra, or maybe a little bit higher now that your back is softened. Exhale, press it down, coming back to downward facing dog. Take another inhale and a cleansing exhale. Fan out the fingers, fan out the toes. And as you're ready on your next inhale, let that left leg float up. As you exhale, soften to earth, bend the knee, bend the elbows back, and then press the mat away. Bring left foot behind left hand, soften the right knee down. Take a moment here. Inhale, create that length, that beautiful wave. Hands can stay down, hands can come to the top of the thigh or coming all the way up. Little softening in the tailbone, pubic bone to belly button, and then let those hips sink down and forward. Shoulder blades glide down your back. Exhale, bring both hands on either side. Take a moment to inhale, create length. Exhale, shoulder blades draw down your back, send those hips back. Front knee can be bent any amount. It'd be better to have low belly and ribs connected to the top of your thigh to protect that hamstring insertion. Once you find that good stretch for you, take an inhale there. Wave the spine long. Exhale, maybe the heart melts a little more. And you can keep that going if that feels good. Or maybe just that melt, that softening and hold feels more appropriate today. Moving like water, letting it flow with ease. Inhale, come back forward. Tuck that back toe, come back to downward facing dog. On your next inhale, come up high on those toes, wave that spine long, lower the knees, lower those hips. Inhale, wave it up, a little cobra. Exhale, soften down, use that core, come back to downward facing dog. Let those hips lift. Take an inhale, little mini wave. Create length in the spine, shoulder blades glide down your back, but not pressing so far down your back that ribs are kind of poking out. As you're ready on your next inhale, let that right leg float up. As you exhale, soften down, press the mat away, right foot behind right hand. Bend that back knee, wave the spine long here. Inhale, create that length. As you exhale, press that foot down. Use your core to hinge upward. So bending that back knee to create space in our sacral hips, and then lifting that torso up. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, bring those hands down, fist of fire. Let that clearing, cleansing wave up, and then release it out. One more. This time, inhale, kind of reaching forward. So that heel, making sure the knee doesn't go beyond the toes, so that front heel is pressing in. And this time, exhale, reach it back. Bend that back knee to inhale it back up. And then exhale it out. So we're being mindful of the low back by bending that knee, hinging up. One more breath up. This time as you exhale, bring both hands on either side. Downward facing dog. Inhale, wave the spine forward. Exhale, lower the knees. Lower it down, let those hips lower. Inhale, wave the spine up, little cobra. Exhale, press it back. It just got kind of hot, so come into your downward facing dog as I rearrange, wardrobe adjustment. Big inhale in, cleansing breath out. And then as you're ready, you can inhale, let that left leg float up. Exhale, soften to earth, bend knees, bend elbow, press in, draw the knee in, left foot by left hand. Take a moment here, inhale, wave the spine long, preparing that low back, preparing the spine. Bend that back knee, and then unhinge, coming upward. Then you can straighten that back leg, making sure tailbone and low back is safe. If it starts to collapse, bend the back knee. Inhale it up. Exhale. Breathe it all out. Inhale. Let that wave of breath come in. On that exhale, draw it out. Last one. Once again, kind of hinging forward. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe it out. Bend that back knee. Inhale it up. Exhale. Find that release. Also strengthening that leg. Inhale it up. This time as you exhale, just bring those hands on either side. Come back to downward facing dog. Inhale, high on those toes. Find that wave forward of the spine. Really notice the back, articulating. Lower the knees, lower the hips. Inhale that chest, wave it upwards. Exhale. This time, a little rest in child's pose. Knees wide, toes together. Send those hips back. You can bring those hands forward or back by your side. As you inhale, just allow that back body to really puff up. Let the inhale draw like a big tidal wave. And exhale, there's a softening, clearing. A cleansing. And then we're going to take that flow just a little bit deeper. So you can bring those hands forward, coming back to downward dog, moving nice and slow. Gonna clear a little bit more house cleaning. As you're ready, inhale, let that right leg float up. Exhale, soften to earth. Draw that knee in, right foot behind the right hand. Bend that back knee. Take an inhale to wave the spine long. Exhale, come back up to that high crescent. We're gonna do 2 of those fists of fire. So inhale, reach it up. Exhale. Inhale it up. Exhale. Inhale it up. This time, bring that back heel. So we're coming now more into warrior one. So that back heel softens down, clasping the hands behind the back. Inhale, reach, open up. As you exhale, keeping all that length, maybe melting forward. And then bend that back knee to inhale, come up. Couple of waterfall warriors here. Bend that back knee, keep all that length. Inhale, use the core to drop. Exhale. This time we'll stay. Maybe that shoulder kind of drifts, maybe the hands lift up, but keep that length. So if you have to inhale and wave the spine long, go ahead and do so. Then release those hands. Walk it a little bit more forward and send that feet back. So we're coming to the long edge of the mat, toes in the same direction as the knees. Send those hips back and find some space here. A little wave from side to side. Bend those knees. Find that core. Inhale, grow long. Little spinal wave. Exhale, press heels into the ground to come up to goddess. So unhinging. Now we're in goddess. Inhale, bring those arms up. As you exhale, find that wave. Wave the spine from side to side. Inhale, come up. Exhale. Get flowy. And this time go all the way down. Let those knees bend from side to side, getting into hips. Find softness like water. Then bringing those right toes forward. That back heel is going to be parallel to your mat, or maybe toes turned a little more in. Still find that bend here. Inhale, go long. Wave that spine long, and then exhale it up into warrior two. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, press it away. Inhale it up. And exhale. This time, bend that back knee, and as you inhale, sweep up as if you could draw up from the earth through sacral. And exhale, press it out. One more of those. Bend that back knee to create space and to use the core. Drawing all of that beautiful cleansing, clearing, press it out. As you exhale, let's windmill those arms down, coming back to downward facing dog. High on those toes, wave the spine forward. Exhale, lower knees, elbows by your side, lower hips. Inhale it up. Maybe you're a little bit higher this time. Maybe it's even an upward facing dog, or maybe it's still cobra feels better. That's fine. Exhale it. Downward facing dog. Take a cleansing, clearing breath. As you're ready, inhale, let that left leg rise. Exhale, soften down. Bring that left foot behind the left hand. Take a moment, bend the back knee. Inhale the spine long. Exhale, unhinge here. Then you can unfurl. Two of those clearing fists of fire. Inhale it up. Inhale it up. Exhale. Inhale it up. Bring that foot a little bit more in. Soften that heel down. As you exhale, clasp the hands. Inhale. Open up the chest like a big spinal wave upwards. Exhale, lower it down. Bend that back knee, but keep that length in the spine. Inhale it up. Exhale. Waterfall it down. Bend that back knee. Last time to inhale it up. This time, exhale, lower down. Maybe keep lowering. Shoulder comes next to the knee. You can wave the spine long too to find some length. Release those hands coming towards the long end, so pivoting those left toes towards the side. Once again, just spend time. Side to side, heels can stay down, toes can come up, or keep the feet down. Then letting the toes just fall same direction as the feet. They don't need to be parallel. Take an inhale to wave the spine long. And as you exhale, forward fold. And maybe you find a few of those lengthening, waving the spine. Exhale, wide-legged forward fold. Let the crown head find some length as if it's drawing longer through the spine. Then pointing those left toes towards the front of your mat. That back foot, right foot's going to be more parallel. Take some time, get a little wavy side to side. Inhale, find some length, waving that spine long. As you exhale, unhinge, coming up into warrior two. Shoulder blades gliding down your back. As you inhale, almost as if you were capturing rain, and then exhale, pressing it out. One more like that. Inhale it up, exhale. And now bend that knee. We're going to draw up from the earth, drawing upwards through that sacral chakra. Exhale it out. One more. Bend the knee to hinge forward. Exhale, cleansing, clearing. Windmill those arms forward, back into downward facing dog. Inhale, wave that spine. Exhale, lower the knees, lower all the way down. As you inhale, wave up the spine. Maybe it's upward dog, maybe that still isn't there, and that's okay. Working with your spine. Then let's lower those knees down. Tuck the toes, send the hips back. Just take a moment. Hands can come upwards on the thighs, shoulder blades glide down your back. If it feels okay to close your eyes, just kind of noticing if that waving motion has you feeling any differently. Maybe connecting to whatever mantra you brought with you. And then coming back to downward facing dog, untucking those toes, or tucking the toes, sorry, tucking, and lifting the hips. So we're gonna work here in pigeon. Some people really hate pigeon, some people love pigeon. So I often I'm never sure to put it in. It also requires one to have a lot of flexion in the knees. And there's actually kind of a lot of, if people aren't careful, a lot of injuries, but it can be really great. I'm going to put it in today just in case you all like it. So we'll inhale, raise that right leg up, come up high on those toes, exhale, soften to earth. Bring that right knee close to that right wrist and just soften it down. But we're not bringing the knee 90 degrees. So that heel, right heel is going to come towards your hip, but then back that hip down. So a couple of really good tips, tricks, you could bring a block, place it underneath that right hip, especially if you have a tendency to be drifting over to that side. Once we're here, bring those fingertips to earth or your blocks and inhale, wave the spine long and almost press the leg down so you're finding a little lift. As you exhale, lower it back down and keep that wave of the spine going. Also, the toe is kind of pointed, so it's almost as if you have on high heels. So like you're wearing a high-heeled shoe, so we're not flexing and keeping that ankle in a weird place. Also, to keep safe, you could bring a block underneath that left hip if that feels better. Just want to make sure everybody's safe. And if you're here in pigeon and listening to me babble, you can keep waving of that spine. If you hate pigeon, move into this figure 4. So an upright figure 4, especially if that flexion hurts in your knee. Wave that spine upward and just wave the spine here. So wherever you're at. So feel free to kind of stay, inhale, waving up, maybe exhale, you lower, you just keep that going. If you'd like a little bit more of an adventure or try something out, so bringing that right forearm to, I would say a block, the ground is fine too, but this little length is nice here. So once that forearm is on the block, inhale, wave that spine, and then find this little twist. So as if you could twist here. Oh, that's the wrong way. I'm twisting the wrong way. I really am. Left forearm down. Just kidding. Left forearm is down. Inhale, wave the spine long, and then there's a twist towards that back. Only if that feels good. And make sure we're inhaling, creating length in the spine before you twist. And you could even try it if you're kind of collapsing and try and twist. There's just not as much room to twist. When you inhale, create length, then there's a twisting and opening is a little bit more available. I feel like we could go either way here. And then come back forward. Exhale. Bring those hands back down to the mat. You can walk in that back leg. Untuck, unfurl, come to downward facing dog. Bring that left foot down. Let's lift up that right leg. Open the hip. And step it back down. Can bend the knee from side to side. Inhale, let that left leg float up. Exhale, soften to earth and bring that left knee just behind the left wrist. Toe is still angling backwards, like as if you had on a high heel. Walk that right leg back and inhale, wave the spine long. Again, you can set up blanket here so that hip is kind of resting. Inhale, keep waving that spine upwards. And as you inhale and wave the spine, you might notice a lift of the hips and then a lowering down. And if, once again, that flexion is too much, bringing that left knee and waving the spine here. Kind of just that continual wave. You might notice the hands walking a little bit more forward to that knee too, as you create some space. And then if you'd like, you can bring some blocks or even just your forearm to the floor. So this time it's the right forearm down. This time it is for real. And we'll inhale, find length in the spine. As you exhale, find that twist. Maybe even the hand comes to the hip and it twists a little bit deeper. Side note, if you were doing this at a different time and you wanted to bend into that back leg and grab hold, feel free. I often get a really bad hamstring cramp. They're not that enjoyable to me, but maybe even here, still inhaling, growing long, and then that twist deepens. Shoulder blades glide down the back. As you exhale, come back forward, bring those blocks back, untuck the toes, come back to downward facing dog. Let's lift up that left leg, open up the hips, so bend in the knee, and then send it toes kind of to the right. As you exhale, just let those knees lower. We're going to come all the way down to our backs. After all that fun movement of the spine, give it one last little twist. So draw the knees into the chest, give them a little squeeze. Bring those arms out to the side, and then firm up the core. So take a nice big inhale. As you exhale, draw those hip points towards each other. Let the knees drift over to the left. Right shoulder blade stays on the ground. Big deep inhale and a release on the exhale. That stirring, waving motion helps move stagnant energy and emotions, clearing and cleansing. Take an inhale, filling all the way up. Exhale, firm up the core. Bring the knees back towards center. Inhale, really puff up the low belly as you exhale. Firm up the core, draw those hip points towards each other. Let the knees drift to the right. Left shoulder blade stays towards the mat. Let your exhale soften your face, your shoulders. Big deep inhale onto the low belly. Exhale, come back to center. Any last little bit of movement that you need. Oftentimes happy baby feels really good into the hips, dead bug, whatever it is. Let that movement completely move through you. If you're ready for your final rest, just bring your feet out the width of your mat. Let your feet fall open, arms by your side. Big deep inhale, that wave of breath, filling up the low belly. This time, loosen the low belly, loosen the side, waist, the low back. Exhale, there's no effort, just a release. No drawing up, just let it go. One more of those. And then just allow yourself a few moments here. And as always, you can spend as much time, and honestly, the longer you spend in Savasana, the better, letting that myofascial tissue kind of realign, reorganize. Maybe we've created some space that it can kind of realign to. But if you're ready, you can make some small movements in your fingers and your toes. It's also just helpful to quiet the mind. You can make circles into the ankles and the wrists if that feels good to you. And maybe it feels good on an inhale to really stretch long, bring arms overhead, point your toes down the length of the mat. As you exhale, you can draw knees into the chest, giving them a nice little squeeze, or just bring soles of the feet towards the mat. Maybe there's a little rocking from side to side with the whole body or just your head, softening into your neck. And then whenever you're ready, you can allow yourself to gently drift over to one side, pausing there, letting your cheek rest on your bicep, and just kind of drawing into maybe there was an intention or a mantra that you had brought with you, or just a moment of gratitude for yourself, for the space that you gave yourself, gratitude for your body to be able to move today. And as you're ready, gently pressing yourself up to an easy seated position, one foot in front of the other. You can have a foot crossed in if that feels good to you. Whatever feels good, bringing blocks if that helps soften into hip creases. And one last little time of feeling sits bones into the mat, and then an inhale, waving the spine upward, crown of the head. And as you exhale, everything softens around that center column. You can bring hands to heart center and just let your head bow gently to your heart. The quote that I leave you with today is from Vladimir Nabokov. The breaking of a wave cannot explain the whole sea. And I really like that. That wave within us is not the entire being of us, just that small part that we move through, work through, and let go. As always, I appreciate you guys so much for being here. I thank you, and I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Thank you so much.